And one specifically thing she said that was going to really impact white people. Jack up the debt, print money to provide housing, and everyone pays 30% for housing.
Joe Rogan is coming out swinging, and he's not holding back. The comedian, fight commentator, and podcast powerhouse is tearing into Mamdani and the city's official Seaweaver housing plan with zero mercy. Rogan says Mamdani's idea to bankroll housing across New York is totally out of touch with reality. We're breaking down his exact words and the political shockwaves they could send through Mamdani's future. Hit subscribe and dive in now.
She wants to, kill real estate value. That's her idea. She wants to, literally, to make housing more affordable, she wants to kill real estate value.
It's an inelastic good. You can't.
Well, it's moronic thinking.
Oh, this woman.
Listen to this lady. Listen to this.
And she has like $1 million house?
Her mom does.
Oh.
Well, of course.
Which the housing is owned by a collective and people are paying 40% of their income in order to live in their housing. If your income is zero, you pay zero. If your income is $500,000 a year, you're paying 30% of that. And the government is providing the government is the sort of owner, or not even the owner. The government doesn't have to be the owner, but the government is what's making sure all of that sort of works and cash flows.
That was Seaweaver explaining her plan to tackle New York's brutal housing crisis in a sit-down interview. But get ready, because a sharp, no-nonsense question is coming her way next, and the host asking it isn't holding back a single punch.
How can the federal government also afford to start subsidizing rental housing costs?
The federal government prints money. The federal government can provide money for them.
So it's by printing money?
Sure.
That's her idea. Print money. The federal government print money to provide housing, jack up interest rates, jack up the debt.
At its heart, this is basic economics, and the numbers don't lie. When the government pours more money into the economy, the currency loses value. Prices go up. Purchasing power drops, and the households these policies are supposed to help end up feeling the pinch the most. Housing costs rise, development becomes pricier, and wages can't keep up. Weaver's plan focuses on printing money to cover current debt while hoping the housing market fixes itself over time. History tells a different story. Usually what comes next is higher living costs, growing budget gaps, and bloated agencies that keep asking for more funding. The pattern is all too familiar. Ignore limits, spend freely, and deal with the fallout later. Strong convictions don't always lead to good results, and sometimes the road to disaster is paved with the best intentions.
Print money to provide housing, and everyone pays 30% for housing.
First of all, why are you talking to me in a hoodie? What mental illness is that? Like, how dare you? First of all, you look like powder. You look like, first of all, get a blowout, throw some mascara. Like, are we professionals anymore? You're in a Costco hoodie and a t-shirt. Like, what are we doing?
Well, you've seen they've confronted her about these ideas.
Quick background. This clip of Seaweaver was recorded before Mamdani even appointed her. She's wearing a hoodie because it was a casual podcast, not a polished press conference. The outfit doesn't matter. What matters is what she's actually proposing. Weaver suggests that people with zero income would pay nothing for housing, while those earning around $500,000 a year would have their housing costs capped at 30% of income. On paper, it sounds compassionate. In reality, it raises big red flags. High earners would have little reason to stay in the system. Developers might hesitate to build if profits are limited. Public financing demands could spike fast. The likely outcome: crushing pressure on productive earners, a tight housing supply, and an unsustainable expectation that a small group of taxpayers can bankroll the whole system. As a long-term housing plan, this model falls apart once real-world incentives come into play.
But she didn't even know what she's saying. She was like, well, sort of, she was kind of...
we won't own it.
Her training was UCB. Like, she's just improvising an idea. No, the government does that. She's not even making eye contact. Like, damn.
Well, a lot of these wokies, they come from rich families. They feel bad about being privileged.
Yeah.
And one specifically thing she said that was going to really impact white people.
What is fascinating about that is that because I think she believes she's coming from the moral high ground, I think this is what's really sort of... But as someone who I feel like is similar to you, and then I'm like, I was as liberal... I had blue hair, you guys. Like
yeah, I remember when you had blue hair.
I rescue pit bulls. Like it doesn't get any more liberal than me.
It's impossible to ignore how badly C. Weaver stumbled when pressed to defend these proposals. That's exactly where Rogan's critique hits like a sledgehammer. What she left behind was the sense of emotional, feel-good solutions being thrown at deeply complex structural problems. Her motivation may be genuine, even rooted in real empathy, but sincerity alone doesn't make a policy work. Good intentions can't override economic reality. When decisions are driven more by feelings than logic, the results are painfully predictable. Distortions grow, inefficiencies multiply, and the people meant to benefit get hurt the most. Weaver's whole framework leans heavily on moral arguments while paying little attention to incentives, supply limits, or basic market forces. Concern about inequality is understandable, but concern alone doesn't fix it. Policies built on sentiment rather than solid design risk tightening supply, driving up costs, and pushing housing further into political chaos. Compassion without careful execution isn't just ineffective, it's dangerous.
But the whole idea with being liberal is like, you had me at, we're not racist, everyone's equal.
Right.
But, diversity, but then it turns into diversity.
Communism.
Diversity, but not diversity of thought.
Right.
Right? The hypocrisy of it got, and I think that as comics, we're people who, I may not be an expert in politics, but I'm an expert on hypocrisy. When you grow up around alcoholics who say, I love you, and then their behavior's incongruous, you look for patterns of hypocrisy. That's just what we're wired to do. So it just started to just be like, hold on, we don't believe in gender, but we need a female president. You're like, huh? And then it's like, my body, my choice. Unless it's a baby that needs a vaccine for hepatitis B.
Whitney Cummings absolutely nailed it in that exchange. She highlighted what looks like a major contradiction: C. Weaver promoting fixes that feel emotionally satisfying but aren't structurally solid. Proposals that create the appearance of action without actually proving they work. It's performative problem solving at its clearest, signaling good intentions instead of delivering real results. And this isn't happening in isolation. It mirrors the kind of thinking linked to Mamdani, sweeping, sky-high idealism with little connection to fiscal reality. Free grocery stores, free buses, costly public benefits, big promises with almost no plan for how to fund or sustain them long-term. These ideas sound generous and exciting on the campaign trail, but they fall apart under budget scrutiny. Resources are never free. Costs get shifted, delayed, or quietly absorbed elsewhere. When aspiration completely overtakes structural planning, affordability problems don't disappear, they multiply. And then even more layers of intervention are needed to manage the mess that was created in the first place.
And the Democrats, I read these, 74% are for democratic socialism. Only 16% favor capitalism. Is this going to be a country that I don't recognize in 5 to 10 years if we don't have these two pillars? If we don't, where are the Democrats going with this? If Mamdani is the face of the Democrats on the East Coast and Katie Porter is the face on the West Coast, I don't know if that's great politically for that part.
Bill Maher was warning about Mamdani long before he ever took office. Back then, people dismissed it as partisan noise or overhyped drama. Now, Maher isn't just repeating the warning, he's shouting it louder than ever. He's telling Democrats straight, keep pushing Mamdani as the party's poster child for 2028, and disaster is coming. For Maher, this isn't about charisma or personality, it's about ideology. Policies that seem radical, out of touch, or downright impractical don't just annoy conservatives. They scare moderates, independents, and working-class voters, the very people who decide elections. His verdict is harsh and crystal clear. Voters don't want experiments or purity tests. They want confidence, stability, and real results. Ignore that and double down, and Maher predicts one of the most crushing, humiliating electoral defeats in modern political history.
New York is New York. It's definitely it's the media capital, the financial capital. It is a bellwether like no other city is in this country. So don't tell me that who the mayor of New York is doesn't matter.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Do you think, let's say, on the seize the means of production, do you think that the mayor, that one person, if he is a democratic socialist, do you think that he would have the power and influence to be able to, usher in socialism
definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time. It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party.
Maher's warning lays out exactly why Mamdani is such a political landmine for the Democratic Party. He has the charisma, confidence, and surface-level appeal to carry the party's flag straight into the 2028 presidential race. And that's exactly what makes him so dangerously attractive. Maher has seen this before. He sounded the same alarm with Kamala Harris, cautioning that style without substance and ideology without realism always backfires. Now he's shining that same spotlight on Mamdani, only louder, only harder. The problem isn't the charm, it's the policy. Mamdani's proposals openly flirt with socialism, and history doesn't lie. Time and again, socialist experiments promise fairness but deliver scarcity. They claim to lift everyone up while concentrating wealth in the hands of a few, leaving the rest buried under higher costs, fewer opportunities, and shrinking freedoms. Words can buy temporary goodwill, but reality always comes to collect the debt.
The other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah. I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess.
This is a staggering contradiction, and it deserves to be called out. Socialists used to preach absolute faith in their ideas right up until reality began tearing them apart. Now, the message has completely flipped. Trust us, next time will be different. But history begs to differ loudly. The same experiments have played out again and again with shockingly consistent results. Countries that promised equality and collective prosperity often ended up with economic collapse, severe shortages, and widespread suffering. For example, Venezuela once had one of Latin America's wealthiest economies, but years of socialist-leaning policies tied to oil dependency led to hyperinflation, shortages, and a humanitarian crisis. Similarly, highly centralized economies like North Korea have faced famine and long-term hardship under rigid government control. Even the Soviet Union's command economy struggled with inefficiency and stagnation over time. Every single time, the rhetoric is optimistic and moralistic, but the result is scarcity, corruption, and suffering. So when today's socialists plead for another chance, they aren't just asking for patience. They're asking voters to ignore decades of hard evidence and bet everything on a failed idea dressed up in a shiny new slogan.
Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess. So, when the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both. That's socialism.
Step back and look at the full picture, because the pattern is clear for anyone willing to see it. On podcasts and campaign stages, these proposals sound compassionate, moral, and visionary. But the moment they meet real-world economic pressure, they collapse. Good intentions are treated like a substitute for actual skill. Emotion replaces structure. Ideology steamrolls evidence. Maher, Rogan, and sharp voices like Whitney Cummings aren't attacking empathy. They're calling out fantasy policymaking. Housing won't be fixed by printing money, capping rents, or punishing productivity without serious consequences. Socialism keeps promising fairness, but delivers scarcity, inflation, and power concentrated in the hands of a privileged few. History has tested this repeatedly, with brutally consistent results. And the scary part isn't just the ideas themselves. It's how confidently they keep getting recycled, decade after decade, despite overwhelming proof they fail. Voters eventually wake up. When costs soar, services collapse, and accountability vanishes, the rhetoric means nothing. Reality always wins, And when it does, it's never the ideologues who pay first. It's everyone else.